Hello and welcome back to the Greek Pyramid. I thought today we could do another what if style video and see how this impacts the world of Percy Jackson. Today's one is what if Percy, Annabeth and Grover didn't leave the Lotus Hotel and Casino. We've already seen that it's very easy to get stuck inside the Lotus Casino, as we see people being stuck there for decades, such as Nico and Bianca, who were in there when the trio turned up in The Lightning Thief and for years beforehand. Let's say, for example, Percy hadn't realised that something was wrong and realised they needed to leave, or if they'd taken the platinum cards allowing them access a new floor of games, then they would sit there playing games with no notion of the time passing. But, obviously, the entire point of The Lightning Thief is they were on a pretty strict deadline for their quest. And from here there's quite a few different ways this future can split, considering it's this early on in the series, there are more ramifications later on. Of course, the most pressing problem is the deadline of the Master Bolt being returned, with it currently laying in the trash can in their hotel room. When this passes, it will start the all-out war between the gods. However, there are sure to be some people wanting to search for this trio. Some who are worried about them, hoping they will succeed and stop this war, and others who wish to use them for their own gains. From here, I think this future could be split depending on a couple of things. One, what are both Luke and Kronos deciding to do now, and who they believe should be the child of the prophecy. 2. Who finds Percy, Annabeth and Grover in the Lotus Casino? Say the gods decide to look for them to help resolve the conflict, and find them in the Lotus Casino, then they will find Percy in possession of the Master Bolt, as it is currently sat in the backpack given by Ares, and at that point, Zeus is obviously going to be furious because he's been proved right in a way, and he'll be completely intent on destroying Poseidon. However, I think it may be more interesting to look at it as if Kronos is more involved. So what are Kronos and Luke doing at this time? So everyone's mass panicking over the end of the world, meaning Luke can run off to get the Golden Fleece to hasten Kronos' return. But then, does he also decide to use the Golden Fleece on Talia's tree? Well, this is surely quite dependent on whether they want Talia or Percy as the child of the Great Prophecy. Particularly, with no Annabeth around, if they chose Talia, she is more likely to believe Luke. I mean, he will have just been stood there reviving her. You've kind of got to believe from when she was last alive that it can't have all gone horribly wrong. Although, the boat full of monsters from Tartarus he's been collecting may show his true intentions in the end. However, I feel like in the first book, Kronos was more intent on getting Percy to his side. I suppose it depends on how much Luke has to say about it. And this part may be where it becomes a bit too convoluted and trying to second guess Kronos' every move. But let's just say he did prefer the idea of having Percy on his side over Talia to be manipulated for his gain. So Kronos had this early revival, and the fact he was able to access Percy's dreams, he may be the only one who truly knows where Percy is. So he springs Percy out of the Lotus Casino and manipulates him to do his will. I mean, does this cause Percy to kill Bessie if he followed the general trend of the books in the Titan's Curse? I think from here on out, Kronos' victory is pretty easy. With him back in power, whilst the gods have been slowly destroying one another, the only positive for the gods is that in this timeline there is no Typhon to deal with, so at least that's something. But, of course, the prophecy still stands. This still has to be fulfilled. And there's only really one or two lines I think are questionable and don't necessarily fit. So, I mean, a lot of people probably know the prophecy off by heart by now, but let's just run through it line by line and see how it comes out. A half-blood of the eldest gods shall reach 16 against all odds. I mean, this two lines obviously fit. You never know, maybe Kronos can use a little bit of time magic and speed up Percy's time to fast forward him to 16 to bring his victory forward. This is then obviously followed with, and see the world in endless sleep, the hero's soul cursed blade shall reap. These are the more difficult lines to fit, as we see the world in endless sleep could be the same way as done in The Last Olympian as part of Kronos' last attack, but it could also just mean the widespread death that is about to ensue, either at the hands of Kronos or due to the war between Zeus and Poseidon. I mean, that would be pretty ironic on Zeus and Poseidon's part if they were the ones who caused that line in the prophecy. However, the cursed blade in this context does become a bit more difficult. Does this now become Riptide, as it becomes about Percy? Or is there another blade this could be in this context? Let me know in the comments how you think this what if plays into the prophecy, The final two lines are then obviously, a single choice shall end his days, Olympus to preserve or raise. I mean, the choice could quite easily be something as simple as killing Bessie, which is obviously put forward in the Titan's Curse, meaning he can bring down Olympus. But then Kronos tossing him aside as he is no longer useful. This would mean we now enter a world ruled by Titans and the story ends there. I mean, unless a little demigod team led by Annabeth is able to stop all of this from happening. I mean, obviously this means we end up more in the Olympus to be raised category. Right, that is the end of this What If video. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. Let me know how you think this scenario could have played out. I feel like I've given just a few options there, really. I'll see you next time for another video. Goodbye.